Either you're here with me, like you're treating me how I treat me, or you're gone. Love also looks like doing what's best for our future selves. Nobody else can come and say, I'm going to give you pennies when you know you deserve diamonds because of all the work you've put in. Absolutely not. So sorry. Should have caught me 10 years before I started to work on myself. Should have caught me before I figured out how to love myself. Like, this is not that girl. She now loves herself. Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Black Girl's Orbit. I'm your host, Zara. It's nice to see you, or welcome. It's nice to meet you. This is episode 10, and it's the week before Valentine's Day, and all I can hear in my head is, Valentine's is coming. Where's your boyfriend? No. But yeah, like that's what's living in my brain rent free at the current moment. But we're going to talk everything loving yourself today, because while yes, happy Valentine's Day, while yes, it can be all romance and about love and about your partner and about whomever it is that you're with, it also, I feel like, is the foundation of like yourself, right? Because not everybody has a partner on Valentine's Day. Not everybody has the significant other that they want to be with. Not everybody can be with their person today. And while society will make us feel like you must have someone, you don't. You don't. And actually, like, we need to do so much work on ourselves before we can actually give someone the type of love that we're yearning for, or like a holistic, unconditional love, which I feel like current society tells us that that's not something that we should be striving for. Like, unconditional love is not something that we should be striving for, and I completely disagree. Like, we wouldn't have a word for it if it wasn't possible. Like, unconditional love is what we expect from others. We expect it from our parents, we expect it from our loved ones. So why not, is that not what we're striving for with our partner, right? And with ourselves, unconditional love, even if not with a partner, for ourselves, right? So I've got my notes, and we're going to get into some topics today. We're going to get into some topics. We're going to cover everything from like internal factors of how to love yourself first, and then how those things that you do when you are uncovering yourself, loving yourself first, are going to transcend into the external, is going to attract in that partner, is going to create a type of environment that easily attracts the love of your life, that easily attracts that kind of unconditional love. And even if not in a partner, it would just create a realm of that type of unconditional love around you, because someone who is living in love attracts more of that. And that's what we all want. We all want to be loved. We all want to attract love, you know? In my opinion, the first step to fully understanding yourself and loving yourself requires for you to go back and figure out where your idea of love comes from, right? So we're talking about past experiences, past trauma, past loved ones, how they've treated us, our experiences with them, all the way back to our parents, because honestly, that's where it starts, right? Like, our first experience of love comes from our parents and our family members, how they treat us, how they show us love, how they make us feel loved, is the first thing that affects the rest of our lives. Like, we gain our what is it called, our love languages from how we are loved and treated as a child. And some of us don't even realize that those things are fully affecting us into adulthood, and are fully affecting how we show up with partners, and fully affecting how we love our friends, and fully affecting how we love ourselves. That's where you have to start. Like, if you don't do anything from this episode, start going back. And this is the hardest bit. Like, it's the most important, but it's the hardest. It's the hardest to go back and figure out where it is your insecurities of love come from, your ideas of love come from, your definition of love comes from. That's the hardest bit, because it might take some uncomfortable like situations for you to remember. It might take some uncomfortable things for you to uncover. It might take some uncomfortable memories that you don't even realize are still affecting you now. But to go back and understand how it is that we got to a place now where our idea of love is X, Y, and Z. Like, whatever your idea of love now is, write it down. Write it down. I think love is blah, blah, blah. I think love is acts of kindness. I think love is acts of service. I think love is blah, 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 whatever, right? And then go back. Where did this come from? Well, I think love is this because my mum used to give me gifts when I was younger, or I wasn't showed affection when I was younger, or I don't think love is possible for me because I wasn't loved as a child. And it's hard. Like it's not easy. I'm sorry to start off this episode a bit deep, a bit serious. But it's the truth. Like we have to go back and analyze where it is our idea of love came from, created from, in order to create a sense of like self intimacy, a sense of comfortability around love, because a lot of us feel uncomfortable around love. We don't know how to love ourselves because we were never loved as children, or we weren't loved the way that our inner child wanted to be loved. And so we have to unlearn a lot of things that we were taught in childhood, a lot of experiences that we had in childhood, in order to get to a place where we can show that love to ourselves. So if anything, understanding your idea of love so that you can either unlearn it, like, no, actually my idea of love now is not what I want it to be. I want it to be romantic. I want it to feel like it's a fairy tale. I want it to be more than just gift giving and acts of service. I want it to be unconditional. Okay, then how do we give that to ourselves? How do we now reparent ourselves? How do we now re-love ourselves? How do we now unconditionally love ourselves? How do we now create a sense of intimacy, a sense of safeness within ourselves so that we feel loved daily? Like, we need to stop looking externally to feel loved. How do we want to feel loved internally daily? Like, that for me is the most important thing that you could do, because once you are showing love to yourself, everything else will fall into place. Even in the tiniest thing of like your self-talk, right? Like, how do you talk to yourself? Is it a nurturing, like, do you talk to yourself like you would go and talk to a child on the street? Like, hi, how are you? How are you doing today? How are you feeling? Like, is that how you talk to yourself? Like, are you checking in with you? Like, how are you today? What's going on? Like, you're loved, you're so gorgeous, you're so pretty. Is that how you talk to yourself? Or is it like, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this or that? Like, oh, you'll never be good enough. Like, you're not great, you're not beautiful, you're not pretty. Like, how are you talking to yourself? Because even that affects like how you feel whether or not you're worthy of love, because you have to tell yourself that you're worthy of love, creating that sense of safety within ourselves. I was watching a podcast episode. I don't remember the name of it, but a woman, I'll put it in the description, but a woman was explaining that she had a very big father wound that she didn't realize that she had, and she, in order to combat that, she would sit down and say, like, she would be her dad to herself. Like, she would be the kind of dad that she needed to herself. So that kind of masculine energy that allows you to just, that holds space for you. Like, okay, what's going on with you right now? Oh, this is going on and I feel like this, and da 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 da, and just talking. Because sometimes that's what women need. Like, that's what we need as females sometimes, just to let it all out. And then going, okay, sometimes that's what we need, right? Sometimes we just need someone to hold space for us. And so she was doing it for herself. And in her case, it was because she didn't feel like her dad held space for her and made her feel safe to let it all out and to offload on her and just, be there for her in that time of need. So she did it for herself. And she would let herself sit there in the emotion and in what she was going through and labor on about it and yap. And then, okay, sit with it for a second, and now we can come out of it, right? Like, now we can move through it, because sometimes that's all we need. But sometimes we are so yearning for that, feel so deprived in that sense of safety, that we look everywhere else for people to show that to us, or give that to us, or to be the dads for us, or to be the mums for us, or to heal those wounds. And actually, we need to do it for ourselves. We need to hold space for ourselves. We need to find safety within ourselves, right? And so that's the beginning, to go inward and fully understand ourselves, so that we know what we need. Because we can't know what kind of love we want if, one, we don't understand our idea of love, don't know where it's coming from, don't understand where it came from, don't understand the experiences that caused it. We have to understand that first. Then we have to start creating it within ourselves. How are we going to combat if our idea of love at this current moment isn't the thing that we want it to be? Okay, cool. What can I do daily to make me feel loved within myself? Because externally it doesn't matter. Like, I know it's the week before Valentine's Day, but externally, we're not talking about externally right now. We'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about it on Valentine's Day. But right now, we're talking about internally, right? Internally, how we are creating love within ourselves. It can look like how you speak to yourself, like we said. It can look like how you show love to yourself, like how you're giving grace to yourself, how you are showing up for yourself, creating trust within yourself, creating safety within yourself, right? All of those things are part of being loved. To trust yourself. Even that, like, most of us don't trust ourselves. We don't trust that we are going to do what we need to do for ourselves. It can even be like, okay, I need to wash the dishes tonight because future me doesn't want to wash the dishes in the morning. Like, I don't want to wake up to a dirty house. So let me wash my dishes so that tomorrow me is grateful for today me, right? Or if I'm exhausted, let me give some grace to myself. You've been doing so well this week. You've done gym 4 times a week. You've done this. You've been cleaning the house. Okay, today take a rest. Let your body breathe. You know, have a self-care day. And it's more than, you know, just putting on a face mask. But it can sometimes be for someone just putting on a face mask and making them feel pampered. You know, it's how you show love to yourself, how you show love to your body, how you show love to your mind, right? It can look like mirror affirmations, like we said, talking to yourself, so in your internal monologue, but even going into the mirror every morning and be like, you are beautiful, you are gorgeous, you are seen, you are loved, you are strong, you are safe. All of those things, they work. They work. It can look like journal prompts, like I said, going and writing down, my idea of love is X, Y, and Z. Why is it X, Y, and Z? Or I want this type of love. This type of love would make me feel like this, right? And that goes into like visualization and manifestation. And we'll talk about that next week. But just, you know, sitting in how it feels to be loved within ourselves. So, treating ourselves the way we want to be treated. This is a little bit about what we touched on the topic before. So if we've gone now back and decided and figured out how it is that we've been treated and how it is that we've got to this current stage, we then have to treat ourselves in the way that we want to be treated, right? And we've literally gone through all of those things. So we've literally just gone through them. So I guess it's kind of, is it redundant? No, I'm a delve in a little bit more. So we talked about showing love to yourself through like the words that you say, how you can do it, a couple practices that you can do with it. Now I mean that in the sense of like the standards that we hold for ourselves. It can all be great and nice and saying like, I'm going to show love to myself in the sense of like being kind and being gracious and showing up and creating safety within myself. But a part of that is to hold boundaries and hold standards, right? And that's what it is. You can treat yourself in the most loving way possible, but if you are not holding up boundaries for how others are treating you and holding up standards for how others are treating you, there is no point. You can unconditionally love yourself as much as you think you are, but are you actually? If someone can just come in and trample on everything that you've built within yourself, no, you're not. Like, you're not really loving yourself if loving yourself doesn't include the boundaries that you're holding, right? If loving yourself doesn't come before other people, if loving yourself is a people pleaser, like those two things don't collide, right? Loving yourself needs to be more than just how you are treating yourself, but how you are letting others treat you. So yes, treat yourself how you want others to treat you. And then when they don't hold that trait, when they aren't treating you how you want to be treated and how you are treating yourself, hold up that boundary, set that standard. Like, no, this is not, like, I've gone back, I've figured out my love trauma. I figured out where it's come from. I figured out my experiences. I figured out what my idea of love is. I figured out what my ideal of love is now. This is what I want. And then I've decided how I'm going to go and get that, how I'm going to go and give that to myself. Now, once I've started giving it to myself, nobody else in this world can come in and affect that. Obviously, certain situations require a little bit of leeway. Like in some cases, you might need to put somebody else before you, or for a certain period of time, love someone else a bit more, or, like children. Children don't know how to reciprocate. They do know how to reciprocate love, but it's not always in the way that we expect them to. They just unconditionally love us. So, but it's not a thing where it's like logical. They just love us. So sometimes it looks like you have to put their needs before yours, of course. But we're talking about adults here. When it comes to people coming in and then trying to trample on the boundaries that you have set for yourself, trying to trample on the standards that you have set for yourself, it's hard. It's not easy when you are single, or when you do feel like you have done the work to not want to let someone in. Like, it's like I've done the work. I now want somebody else to love me the way that I'm loving me. Like, I'm loving me now. Like, I'm loving my inner child. I am unlearning all the things that I went through when I was younger. I'm treating myself how I want to be treated. And now I'm waiting for someone to come in and, treat me the way I'm treating myself. I'm waiting for someone to show me the love that I'm showing to myself. I get it. But you cannot back down. You cannot back down. You have to hold that boundary. Like, this is how I want to be treated. Either you're here with me, like you're treating me how I treat me, or you're gone. Like, there's just no, it can't, it can't happen like that. And sometimes that's even family members. Like, if you have gone and done the work to unlearn all the things and experiences that you had from, like, maybe your mum wound or your dad wound around love, and then they come in and they're like, well, I've never had a boundary with you, so why now do we have a boundary? Because I do. Like, this is now my boundary. I'm now loving myself more than you did, and so, or in a way that you didn't know how to. And so that might look odd to your parents, that might look odd to your loved one, that might look odd to your friends, but it's like, this is where I'm at, and I'm setting my boundaries and I'm setting my standards. And if you can't live up to that, that's okay. That's okay. But this is where I'm at, you know? And standing firm in that. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But we talked a little bit about, like, self-care other than aesthetics, and this is where that lies, right? We can love ourselves, give ourselves grace. We can show up for ourselves. We can love that inner child. And sometimes in the beginning, I feel like, especially when you're unlearning all the things that you have been told about love, or you're creating this new idea of love, we can be very soft to ourselves. We're very gentle with ourselves, because we need to be during that time. And at some point, love also looks like doing what's best for our future selves. And I don't think everybody gets there initially. It takes a little bit of time to get to the point where you're like, okay, I've been gentle, I am kind, I've done my mirror affirmations, I'm journaling, I'm embodying love. And now I've set my standards and I've set my boundaries, but also set your standards and set your boundaries with yourself. Like I said, I gave a little example where I was like, if the dishes are in the sink and tomorrow you don't want to wake up to a dirty house, you need to clean the dishes today. A part of us is like, just give yourself grace. Like, it's fine, like, you'll do it tomorrow. But the future version of ourselves is going to be so much more relaxed, so much more happy if we just get the dishes done now. It's like nourishment. It's like gym. It's like taking care of our bodies. Like, we need to love ourselves enough, and so much so that we are willing to maybe do something that looks a little bit like we don't love ourselves in this moment, because we know that a future version of ourselves is going to be so much better off because we put the work in now. Like, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week because I know the future version of me is going to be so much more healthier, and therefore this love that I'm showing to myself now, I'm going to be rewarded for even more then, right? This work and effort that I'm putting in now, I'm going to be so much more abundant then. It doesn't look like overexerting ourselves. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, have boundaries with yourself to know where your body is feeling exhausted, and take a moment, give yourself a rest in those things, but still push yourself. If you have a vision or a dream and you're like, this version of me will be better off if I do these things now, then do them. Have boundaries with yourself, like set standards for yourself. This is X, Y, and Z is what I need to do in order to get there. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the work in now so that I can get there, right? You need to start creating evidence for the things it is that you said that you are now creating as an ideal of love. You need to start creating evidence within yourself. And I think that's what treating yourself how you want to be treated does. It creates evidence. It creates examples of where you have shown up for yourself. It creates examples of where you are being loved. It creates examples of where you can write down and say, no, I am worthy of love because I am able to do X, Y, and Z. I am worthy of love because I treat myself in X, Y, and Z. I am worthy of love because I am X, Y, and Z. It creates evidence. You're starting to create evidence by treating yourself how you want others to treat you, and then holding your boundaries with others. You are creating evidence within yourself for how worthy you feel and how loved you feel by yourself, right? You are showing up in a way that future you is going to be like, yeah, she has done the damn. Do you think I'm going to settle? Do you know the work that I've put in to love myself, and you think I'm going to settle? Nobody else can come and say, I'm going to give you pennies when you know you deserve diamonds because of all the work you've put in. Absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. Like, it's never going to happen because you've created such a log of evidence of how much worth you have and how much effort and work you've put in to get to this place that nobody else is going to be able to come and be like, oh, I'm just going to give you like this little bit. Like, can't you just take this little bit from me? No, I can't. Sorry. Do you know how much work I've done? Do you know how much I love me? Like, I'm not gonna I can't love you if you can't love me the way that I love me. Sorry. Like, so sorry. So sorry. Should have caught me 10 years before I started to work on myself. Should have caught me before I figured out how to love myself. Like, this is not that girl. She now loves herself, right? That's what doing and showing up for yourself does. Learning to trust that when push comes to shove, you will pick you, right? You need to create evidence of that. And that starts with you. That starts with, I want a burger, but I know future me is going to be better off if maybe I have a salad, or I want a nice cookie and a biscuit and a chocolate, but I've set a regime for myself. I only do the cookie and the sweet and the chocolate once a month, or I only do this cookie and the sweet and the chocolate every week. Like, I don't binge anymore. I put my health before anything. And those are ways of loving ourselves. Those are 110% ways of loving ourselves. And the thing is, this goes very nicely into the I feel like these points have really, I feel like I scripted this well. When you're doing all of these things, going back and unlearning all the ways that you have been loved that do not align with your ideal of love now, when you are creating boundaries for how you are accepting love, when you are treating yourself how you want to be treated, when you are showing up for yourself and creating evidence that you deserve and are worthy of love, externally, you will begin to attract, and you will be in a situation where you begin to attract an exact reflection of you. And that's the thing. If you are in a current place now where you feel like all the types of love that you are attracting are negative, toxic, and, unsafe, maybe what you think is love internally is negative, toxic, and unsafe, because we only attract mirrors of ourselves. We only attract what we think we're worth. We only attract what we are putting out. Like energy attracts it, like for like. We are creating mirrors of ourselves everywhere we go. So if you're in a current relationship and you feel like this is not what I signed up for, this is not what I thought I wanted, then you need to get out of it. You need to get out of it, because you are, every day that you are spending there, you are telling spirit, this is what I think I'm worth. This is what I think I'm worth. This is what I think I'm worth. Even if there is better waiting for you in this current moment, you are telling spirit, this is what I think I'm worth. And so you need to get to a place where you are constantly telling spirit, this is what I'm worth. And you need to be proud of that. This is what I'm worth. How I'm showing up for myself, this is what I'm worth. The type of love that I'm giving myself, this is what I'm worth. The type of boundaries that I'm holding, this is what I'm worth, right? And then you will start to create an environment where the only things that you're receiving is like for like. Oh yeah, like that person showed me so much kindness today. That person held the door up for me. That girl called me pretty today. This person said like, oh, I'm radiating love. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Because you are doing those things internally. You're doing the work internally. The energy is literally attracting like for like. It's attracting like for like. You have gone in and created a foundation of self-love within yourself that anything that begins to attract is only going to be a complete mirror of that foundation. And the thing is, it's not that some things won't come in and tests won't come in just to see like, oh, is she doing the work? Like, are you going to accept less? Like, are you going to, yes, those things are going to happen because spirit is asking, you're doing this work, you've created this foundation, but how strong is it? How strong is the foundation? If someone comes in and love bombs you, how strong is the foundation? Are you going to allow them to love bomb you? Are you going to allow the pennies? Are you going to allow the pounds? Like, we're at diamonds, remember? So are you going to allow the pennies? Are you going to allow the pounds? No, you're not, because you've created such a strong foundation of self-love within yourself that you can weed out so easily the tests. You can weed out so easily where it's like, you're faking the diamonds that you're giving me. You're faking the love that you're giving me. This is not like, you have discernment of who it is and where it is you need to be, because you are walking in your self-love. You're walking in the love that you have created within yourself. You're walking in the intimacy and the safety within yourself to know, and you trust yourself, and you've created so much evidence in how you treat yourself that you don't second guess whether or not this person is for you, because it's like, if this person was, I would know. They would be showing me the complete and utter unconditional love that I show myself. And if they are, then there's no question, because that doesn't mean that they're not it. They're not it. And sometimes this process can take a long air of solitude. And it doesn't have to look like you're single, because we can feel lonely and be around a bunch of people. It just means that you're doing the internal work within yourself that maybe others won't understand. It might look like I said, holding boundaries and losing friends. It might look like not feeling comfortable in certain environments where you used to love being there, because now you feel unsafe because you've started putting yourself in more safer situations. Your body has started being like, yeah, no, we've been unsafe here our whole lives, but you was just so okay with it that we was like, okay, but really we're unsafe here. Right? Like, all of this work will sometimes make you feel way lonelier than you actually are. It can do. It can put you in solitude. It might look like you've come out of a very, very long relationship. And all of those things shouldn't look like or feel like doubt. They should feel like confirmation. It should feel like confirmation. And sometimes it doesn't. Like, when you're going through it, it doesn't feel like confirmation. You've come out of a long-term relationship. You're losing friends. You're, having issues with family. It doesn't feel like confirmation, because it's like, well, why am I losing all the people that I loved? Why am I losing all the people that I feel like loved me? Well, they didn't love you the way that you are striving to be loved. They didn't love you the way your future self should be loved. They didn't love you the way that spirit has love waiting for you. Otherwise, they'd still be here. So it has to feel like confirmation. You have to make it feel like confirmation. That relationship ended. Okay, it's confirmation that there's something better. That family member didn't like my boundaries. Okay, it's confirmation that I'm standing in my boundaries. That friend didn't like the standards that I have for myself. Oh, well, that means I've got a better friend who respects my standards, who respects me, who wants to show me the kind of love that I need, who wants to show up for me the way that I need, who wants to treat me the way that I need, who wants to treat me the way that I treat myself. It's confirmation. It doesn't always feel like it in the moment. And it can take an air of solitude. It can take a while of solitude. It can take a season of solitude. And that can even be mental solitude. Like sometimes it takes the therapy of going back and figuring out everything. And it can feel like a very long road. But the journey's worth it. The journey to loving yourself is worth it. Because the thing is that no matter how much externally you look for a type of love that you think you want, if you haven't done the work internally, nothing that comes will feel like it's enough. Nothing that comes will feel like it is the one. Nothing that comes will feel like you're worthy of it. You won't feel worthy of it because spirit can bring you the most amazing person, but if you don't feel like you are worthy of that person, you won't be able to be in the relationship. You won't be able to show up. You won't be able to give them the love that they're giving you. And we need to do the work on ourselves. It's all fine and great and being like, I deserve this type of love. You do, but they also then deserve that type of love. And are you prepared to give it to them? Have you given it to yourself long enough that you know then how to take a step back and give that to your partner when you need to do more for your partner in a season, when you need to show more love for your partner in a season than they are showing to you? Are you prepared for that? Because that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing, right? You need to be in an era where you are creating so much love within yourself that when sometimes love externally requires sacrifice, you are okay to do that because you've created such a foundation of love within yourself that you're not wavering with the love that you're showing yourself by showing love to somebody else. Like, you are not neglecting yourself while loving someone else. You are not prioritizing yourself while loving someone else. You are not losing yourself in the love of someone else during that process, during that relationship, because you have created such of a foundation of love within yourself that it doesn't matter who comes in, it doesn't matter what is added, it doesn't matter who else you need to love. You are able to, and also know that you have enough love within yourself, right? We want to be giving love from a cup that's overflowing. We don't want to be giving love from a cup that's kind of like got like this half empty kind of ish. Because then we have nothing left for ourselves. We want to have created such a foundation for love within ourselves, such examples of love within ourselves, such boundaries of love within ourselves, that when somebody else comes, we're like, yeah, I've got all this overflow of love. Of course you can get some. I don't need it to be, give it back to me. I don't need it to be reciprocated. You will show love like when you walk down the road. You will be given acts of kindness. You will be unconditional in your being, right? You will be unconditional within your being because you have so much love to give. You have so much love to give. You are radiating in love, and you are not desperate in love. You are not waiting for someone to choose you. We're not waiting for someone to choose us. We are treating ourselves in such a way that if someone comes, they come. And if they don't, they don't. Either way, you're loved because you are loving you, right? So yeah, we talked about when you start creating this type of love within yourself, you start to create that energy starts to mirror, right? And that becomes the sense of manifesting. You are in now, like, once you start that process of, you have created such a foundation of love, you are now in that process of manifesting exactly what it is that's supposed to come to you. You are no longer being desperate. You are no longer yearning for it. You are no longer, we can want 100%, we can want for it, but we are not wanting for it to the point where we're desperate. Like, I'm desperate for external love. I'm desperate for someone to come and pick me, choose me. No. No. We are in the place of we've done so much work, and manifestation requires work. It doesn't it's not like we just sit here and act pretty and then someone will choose us. No. You've done the work, you've created such a foundation of love, you are radiating in your unconditional love for yourself that now you're creating energy, and you're telling the universe, this is what I'm worth, 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 and it will start to come to you. You're manifesting it externally. You're manifesting it in your friendships. You're manifesting it at work. You're manifesting it while you're walking down the street, right? This is what we're saying. It will come, right? It will come. We want to move from surviving in love and being desperate in love to receiving in love. We want to start creating such a foundation within ourselves of love that we are now here to receive it. We are attracting it. We are not fighting for it. We are not searching for it. We are not yearning for it. It is just going to come. It will come when it's supposed to. And you've done so much work from literally from the beginning of this episode. You would have done so much work by this point that there is no doubt that spirit will not give you that person or those people or that friendship group or your tribe that is going to show you the type of love that you deserve, that is going to show you the unconditional love that you have already created for yourself. Because like I said, you're a mirror. Like, our energy that we give out will mirror back to us all the time, constantly, negative or positive. So we got to watch out for that. I think when it comes down to it, how we are showing up for ourselves over this time period, over the next 2 weeks, over the year, over February, over life, will fully affect what we attract. And I don't want Valentine's Day to be a thing where people feel like, I'm desperate for, I've seen all of the people doing the hotel rooms and the flowers and the this and the that and, the petals on the bed, and I don't have a love basket and I don't have a Valentine's Day, but it's okay. It's okay. Like I said, everything that's you don't have at this current moment, take it as confirmation that there's something better, or take notes like, oh, okay, this is the type of way people are being loved. I want to be loved that way. Go and write yourself a love letter. Go and give yourself that Valentine's Day gift. Go and have that Valentine's Day date for yourself. Go and book that hotel room and take a nice bubble bath. Go watch a movie. Like, do the things. If you want them, go and do them for yourself. Go and do them for yourself. We are creating a foundation this year. We are creating a foundation of love within ourselves. That's what we're doing this year. Like I said, I will leave the podcast episode that I was talking about, and I will leave some journal prompts that I think are really, really good for if you are going down that process of unlearning and creating self-love. If you are going down that process of creating a foundation of love, like how you can journal and script in a way that will start attracting in what it is that you want, in a way that will start unlearning those negative ideas of love that you have previously had, so that you can start learning the current ideals of love that you want to have. I will leave all of that below, and in the comments, please tell me how your self-love journey is going. What are you doing for yourself? How are you showing up for yourself? How are you spending Valentine's Day? Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you next week in our actual Valentine's Day episode. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I love and appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed your experience within a Black Girl's Orbit. I will see you next week. I have been your host, Zara. I will see you next week.